How's it going, Critter Family? I hope you all are doing well. We are going over a new video today that was suggested to me. This is by Julie's Canine Academy, I believe. About 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, a little over that. So I've never heard of this guy before, but somebody suggested I look into this video because he's talking about dog training tools. Prong collar, e-collar, bonker, pet convincer, slip, and clip leash. So he's going to go over each one of these. These are the main tools that he says are, the basics in a lot of dog trainers' toolbox. I find it interesting, though, that he doesn't mention anything about clickers or treat pouches or a licky mat or toys, flirt pole, anything that would, use positive reinforcement. So we're just going to go over what he defines and what he uses, and I'll just give my 2 cents on it. So using all footage here under Fair Use Act for education, criticism, giving my 2 cents, giving my personal opinion, educated opinion, maybe clearing up any misinformation or misunderstandings about things. I'm not claiming that I'm right and it's only my way or the highway. I'm just giving you something to think about. Because as someone who's in the industry and who has seen and knows how to read through the lines of these sneaky, snake oil salesmen. I'm not saying that he is necessarily one, but a lot of them have, these trainers. They're salespeople. They have, a silver tongue. So if you already know this guy or you like him or, whatever, please, obviously you don't need my consent to go follow him, then go follow him. I will never say that you should not. I just don't recommend the things that these tools that they use. But hey, if you want to go follow this guy, then by all means, I'm not going to stop you. So if you're ready for that, then let's get started.
We're teaching dogs to be off leash. And we want...
He's talking about the e-collar, the mini educator, which in my opinion, you're not teaching your dog to be off leash. You're still relying on essentially a wireless leash, but it's really just a threat to the dog. If you don't listen, I still have the ability to zap you, stim you, whatever you want to use. It's just not an effective way, really, to teach your dog. By using a threat, eventually the dog is going to be tired enough of the threat. The battery will go dead. You're not teaching your dog anything other than, just like if you use only punishment, and your dog runs away from you. They may be gone for several days, and as soon as they come home, you spank them or you put them in a crate, you lock them up, and of course they're not, going to want to come back to you.
To do that, we still got to be able to correct our dogs if they're not listening, so...
So that's the problem, is that if they're off leash and they're not listening, we have to be able to correct them. No, it was your fault as a human and as a trainer, if you're the trainer, that you let your dog off leash too soon before they were ready. It's not the dog's fault. Okay, the dog does not need to be corrected for not listening. They weren't ready. You're in too distracting of an environment. That's why, there's nothing wrong. There's also leash law. So just use a really long leash, a long line, fenced in area. Use a retractable even. Take time. I love using a long line. I did with my Shiba. My Shiba was never off leash because it wasn't my priority. With my next dog, I would really like to teach them to be reliable off leash, but I'm not going to necessarily let them off leash regularly. But I will, I want to be able to, if they get out, that they're comfortable coming back to me. They're not afraid of me. I don't have to be afraid if I drop the leash or they, somehow get out the door, they get out or something happens, and they get loose, that they feel comfortable they can come back to me on, off leash without any threat. I don't want to have to rely on any kind of violence or anything. I'm a snack leader, not a pack leader. I didn't create that saying. I saw it on Facebook, which is very, very cute.
That's where the e-collar comes in. Some genius developed these things.
No, they didn't. You're right. Some genius developed this for lazy owners or incompetent owners or just owners that are too busy. And then they also got it for trainers. People were, the middleman was like, oh, hey, I'll make a great buck off of this. The guy who made it, the company who made it is just, billionaires upon billionaires for selling these to the suckers who want to buy them and think that they're good or they're helpful or they're lazy or they just don't know, or and those people are even suckers to you and people like you, trainers like you, because you're able to sell them a $300 electric collar that they can use and abuse and shock their dog from a distance, and it still won't even work. Because the dog may learn to say, screw you, I don't know, they're not thinking, they run away. It takes so much longer, honestly, I think, to use one of these to teach your dog than just using positive reinforcement. Than just using a toy, a milk bone. I mean, they're so cheap, a piece of cheese from your fridge if you eat dairy.
Changed the training industry.
For the worse. It's not for the benefit of the dog.
Because now, all of a sudden, before these, the only way to be able to correct your dog and hold your dog accountable was with
I hate that so much when people say, hold your dog accountable. Back then they would just throw a rock at the dog. I mean, I've seen people, just do that. And you know what? Their dog somehow always ends up getting out of their yard. Why? Because they don't have a bond with their owner. It's not about holding the dog accountable. It's about the human who is teaching the dog. The dog doesn't need to be held accountable for squat. They're a dog. They don't speak our language. They are living in a human world that we put them in. We change their DNA for our own, needs, whether it be selfish or helpful, because there's a lot of working breeds. Just like horses, they're, now they're seen as or back then even, they were seen as beasts of burden. Now they're just status. Very few of them are just, beloved family members and pets. You don't need to hold the dog accountable. You need to hold yourself accountable.
a leash, or if they were close enough to you, that you could pick something up, right?
Jesus.
Like the old newspaper.
Yeah, and then good luck. That's how you make a dog bite you. That's how you make a dog hand shy, item shy, and run away from you. That's, like I said, you want to follow this guy? Go follow him. Go follow his advice, do whatever. I'm sure you'll have a great bond with your dog.
This changed the game. Now we have contact with our dogs up to a half a mile away.
Wow. And you know what? When dogs get loose, people turn this up all the way and continuously shock their dog so they can follow the yelps. So they can, hone in on where their dog is from yelping out of pain because the person lost the dog and the dog doesn't know at all why they're being corrected. So this changed the game from people having to hold themselves accountable, having to actually learn and be educated. I know it's called the mini educator, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't educate anybody. Least of all the trainer. It's just a remote for dummies is what it should be called.
And as far as the dog's concerned, they think we can get them at anywhere. They don't know it ends at a half a mile away because the way.
Plenty of dogs will learn. Trust me, they're very, very, very smart. But they're just gonna, have the one that has a mile away and then 2 miles away and then, or they'll never let their dog out. They'll be crated all day.
And up. So this is an extension of ourselves to our dogs, and this.
But the dogs don't see it that way. They will wait to see when that handle is in your hand. Or I always call it a handle. I mean, when the remote is in your hand. You're going to see people coming through, all these trainers that proudly, hang these from their neck like it's a trophy. I just see it as, okay, that's a dummy label. It's a label saying that you're a dummy, you don't know how to train dogs.
Revolutionary to the way that dogs learn.
No, it's not revolutionary to how they learn. Dude, come on. Why don't you do some learning? I take it back. It's revolutionary to learned helplessness. Meaning no matter what they do, they're still going to get the painful electric stimulation. I didn't say shock there. And they're going to get it no matter what. So they just give up. They stop trying. That's evolutionary. Revolutionary, whatever you want to call it.
As far as their commands?
Commands, of course. So he sees them as just like, wants to make robot dogs, or you're going to listen to me because I'm human and I have, whatever. He's going to say it's a tap on the neck. It's not a tap on the neck.
Turn on this kind of 10-unit feeling. I don't know if you guys can see the number. It goes 0 to 100. So it goes. And
you're never going to see any trainer put it on themselves at 100 or on an owner on their neck as tight as they can get it, because that's how they put it on the dog. And you're never going to see them doing that. They're going to put it on their wrist, on their fingers, and have it really, really low. And humans have thicker skin than dogs do. So even if it's at 50 and we barely feel it, then, I felt it on one of these at 6. And I've heard dogs that yelp when it was on 2.
Really?
I mean, you don't need 100 levels of electric current, which is what it is, electric current.
Controlled experience, this is what the professionals would call it, a controlled experience where the dog thinks somebody's knocking at the door because somebody is, but it's not an organic experience. It's not a real...
So you're just setting the dog up for failure. He's talking about you use this as a way to punish a dog. So if you have this on the dog, you knock on the door, the dog goes to bark, and you're going to hit him, zap him with this as a correction, which is not normally how a lot of people say that you should use this. They say the proper way is not to use it as a correction. You use it to teach the dog obedience or to speed up. Like, I just don't...
It's not an experience from the outside world. It was one that we planned. So these are called setups. So we're setting
up the dog for failure.
This situation so that we can change the way that it responds.
Okay? So you can correct the dog because you don't know how to do that without correcting the dog. Okay, this is easy. Anybody can correct a dog. If a dog barks at the door, I mean, you could throw a shoe at them and change their behavior. I don't think you should do that. I'm not saying to do that. Or you can take time and teach your dog something to where they're actually using their brain. You're increasing your bond with each other. You release the chemicals in your brain that make you feel good and feel like you've accomplished something. That takes skill. This does not.
So knock, knock, knock. The dog barks. This time, the second time, no, firmer correction.
Firmer correction. So higher on the number. So hurt more because apparently they didn't learn the first time because dummy here doesn't know how to actually train a dog. And you have, these two options where you can have one button is linked to a certain number and the other button is linked to another number, so you can boost it. So say you have one setting on 10, you can have the other setting on 30 or 50 or 11 or 15. So it just jumps this major number.
What's great about this is that it beeps on the collar. Of course this collar would be dead, right, Jules? I grabbed the dead collar.
I wonder how much he's been using it then, unless he just never charges it. He's going for a long time talking about just this e-collar.
All I hear from my owner is that I did a good job, and there is no aversive. What do you think starts happening?
The dog doesn't need that, though. The dog doesn't need aversives. And they don't say aversive. The dog says, that was painful, and I don't want to do that again. Versus the dog learning, oh, it's better to stay inside. I don't have to have a collar tied around my neck. I can be totally naked. When they don't have collars on, I call them naked. Naked and free. The door can open. I can see it open. I can see a child and a parade going by. But I'd rather stay inside because I've been taught that it's more positive to be inside. And I've been prepared over time that no matter what's going on outside, I'd rather stay inside. That takes skills that he does not have.
To the dog's brain if we start to set that up on a daily basis.
Oh, lovely. You get to shock your dog daily. And keep going up on numbers. And he's going to show you how to whack your dog in the head with a rolled up towel.
Anyway, I needed to charge it. Now, then there's this. This is the bonker.
They say bonker because it sounds nice. It's a rolled up towel that when you roll it up like that is pretty substantial. It's pretty stiff. They use rubber bands on it. And it's meant to smack your dog, the smacker, meant to hit your dog either on the head, on the back of the head, on the body. I mean, this is like, before the e-collar came around, this is just what people would do. It's not a rolled up newspaper. It doesn't matter if it is or not. People would just smack their dog with this. Or kick them or do whatever else. I mean, animal cruelty is still around. And now it's just in a fancy term called training. Dog training. If you put the word training in front of it, then you can pretty much do anything to an animal. I mean, we choke dogs. We beat them with a rolled up towel. We use shock collars on them. We use metal prongs in their throat.
This one out of the way too. We're going to talk about this. We're getting all the big bad ones we're talking about right away. Because if you haven't watched from the beginning, I gave a little debriefing.
No, you didn't. You literally just said this is a bonker. It's a rolled up towel. We'll get to it in a minute. This is the pet convincer. It's compressed hair. This is the slip lead or the dominant dog collar, which we'll get that. We'll get to that in a minute.
of, the moral standpoint of whether or not you think it's morally wrong to punish a dog physically, or if
it is very morally wrong to punish anyone, any living creature, physically, dude. It is morally wrong. How you don't see that is just, there are none so blind as those who refuse to see. And all the keyboard warriors, the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them knows anything about the subject. So all those people that are going to tell me, I'm going to cover a video on American Standard Dog Training. Apparently he has something to apologize for. He just titles it, clearing up the BS. So that's not really an apology, but, typical YouTube apology. All the people that watch him and Dog Daddy, they always come up to me that like, no, you're wrong. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I can guarantee none of those people can work with a dog with a bite history without ever touching the dog, without ever correcting the dog and change their behavior in a reasonable amount of time. I'm not talking years. I'm not talking months. Yeah, weeks, because it takes time, because I'm not touching the dog. But nonetheless, I can work with them without ever correcting, without causing behavioral fallout. I condition a muzzle. The owner is always has the leash or is in, control of them on a harness. Yeah, go ahead, but go ahead. But apparently I don't know what I'm talking about, even though I'm the educated one and they're not. They just follow some ding dong on the internet.
On the side of the fence where you don't think it's morally wrong to punish and discipline a dog, you actually think that that's part of your responsibility as a dog owner.
No, it's not part of your responsibility as a dog owner. Part of your responsibility as a dog owner is to make sure that you can actually take care of the dog. You can train them in a humane manner. And part of your responsibility is to look into the type of training that you're doing and look up the people who are training. Because, look, let me tell you, in case you didn't know, there's no legal premises for anyone. Anyone can be a trainer. You listening can be a trainer. Your 5-year-old can be a trainer. Anyone can be a trainer with no educated background, no background checks whatsoever, no nothing. You can go out and start charging people, and if you get... look at Dog Daddy. He's a perfect example. He's blatantly abusing animals on the internet, promoting it, and he makes, I imagine... I'm just going to say boatloads of money. I would imagine millions, but I'm just going to say boatloads of money. And people love it. People hate on me when I talk about him and his videos. Okay, because people like this guy, seems like, and people like Dog Daddy, everybody, all these other quote-unquote balanced trainers give you this false dilemma. Or like Zach George said, false dichotomy. That there's only two choices. Either you correct your dog, or you use a bonker, or you use a prong collar, you use a shock collar, or I'll even call it an e-collar, or your dog dies. Those are not the only two choices. If you believe that, then as somebody said to me the other day, I have a bridge to sell you. Not even. I'm not even going to try and do that. It's just I can't help you. That's your responsibility as a dog owner, is to look into a humane way to train them and to help them. Otherwise, don't have a dog. Find a home that's more suitable for them. That's part of your responsibility. If you cannot take care of them without having to beat them with a rolled up towel or choke them with a slip leash because of their behavior that ultimately was, happened on your watch. I'm not blaming people who, things happen. I'm not saying anybody needs to be perfect. But nowadays, there's no excuse. There's so much free information. That's the trouble, though. So you have to weed out the free information if you're going to do it only for free. You have to do the work. Or don't. Free
now,
country.
If you stand on the other side where you think it's morally wrong to fit...
Okay, let's just get on with it.
This is a spatial pressure and social pressure without eye contact, disagreeing with your dog. No,
that's dangerous. I don't ever recommend just staring at your dog and making eye contact, because that's how you make a dog bite. That's how you make a dog very nervous. If I make eye contact with a dog, it's because I'm teaching them that eye contact is a good thing. Most of the time, I don't make eye contact with a dog I don't know. If I happen to look them in the eyes for a second, because it's what humans do, we're used to it, then I make sure to look away right away. I flick my eye away, and the dog will mirror that, because that is a calming signal.
until you see a bit of your dog relax. That's called submission. Just
no, that's okay. Yes, it is submission, but it's really just bullying. You are bullying your dog versus having a bond with your dog. So far he's showing a lot of, uneducated opinion and inexperience, or a lot of experience in uneducated practice. I don't know.
And as you do this, a week, do it for a week, do setups, and you're going to notice your dog's not going to be making the mistake anymore.
You take a week to teach your dog not to bark at the door? Through bonking them and using the e-collar? Setups throughout the week, and they say that PODS reinforcement takes longer. Good lord, dude. I can get a dog to do that within a day. And we're working maybe 2 minutes at a time. And it's not because I'm special, it's because I practiced a lot and I have good timing. And I know when to stop knocking, or how to work the dog up to that point to where I can bang on the door and they just silently sit there and they go get a toy, they go, get a chew, they just chill, scratch their face or chew on their foot, whatever, because they're not worried about it. Good lord, dude.
Have a dog that pulls terribly, not know anything about training.
Okay, well, they're going to stop pulling because this hurts, and you're going to rely on using a prong collar for the rest of the dog's life because they will never learn to not pull unless they have something digging into their throat. You're not really teaching them anything. This is just holding them back.
Go get one of these. Watch the right YouTube video.
How do you know the right YouTube video? How are they going to know? Hey, nice drum set, man. How are they going to know what the right YouTube video is? This is just really stupid advice, in my opinion.
And then turns around, and by the time the dog turns around, it sees your back walking in the other direction. This is important. You don't say anything to the dog. No, you don't. This is the key. Because I like the e-collar so much, I tend to just use that. But when you're training,
because the e-collar is so easy, and you can just with just a remote. You don't have to have a leash. You can just shock your dog from a distance. You can be lazy. You can be, put all the accountability on the dog. You don't have to be skilled with anything. Don't have to think about it. You can remain ignorant, because ignorance is bliss.
You can use a combination of both. You can send a dog home on a combination of both.
Yeah, lovely. Give them a prong and a shock collar, because one isn't enough. You need both. You just cause more pain. Good grief. I know this guy goes on for more and more. I think... Okay, we'll let him finish this thing, and then we'll move. I'm just probably going to call it. I'm just...
Definitely done it in the past, and I've seen people do it. And we still do it. But even if you don't have an e-collar, this is how this works. You let the dog... This is the process. You walk out...
The one way he knows how to do it.
To your street, or somewhere safe where there's not a lot of cars, maybe not the street.
Somewhere safe.
And you start walking.
Yeah, somewhere safe so your dog doesn't get hit by a car, but you're going to clothesline them at the end of a metal prong collar on their throat, where they have the trachea and the esophagus and the thyroid glands and blood flow. But we don't want them to get hit by a car. But we're going to use this on their throat. Okay.
On the dog, and the dog's going to just... You're not going to tell it to heel, okay?
One, don't be so obsessed with the heel. If your dog does not walk on a regular loose leash that they can be, 6 feet anywhere around you and they're not pulling on you, you're not ready for heel. That's like, okay, telling a 4-year-old to start practicing on a motorcycle. You need to learn how to just ride on a tricycle first, or you need to learn, with training wheels first. That's where I start. I'll also have a link in the description below of how I teach a dog to loose leash walk, and you can work your way up to heel. I'll put a video of how I teach heel in there, too.
Be mistake number 1. The dog doesn't know heel. It's not going to heel, okay? It's not. What you're going to do is...
Well, you have to teach them heel first, and don't be so obsessed with this over-controlling concept of your dog has to be by your side every single second of the day. Heel there can be times where you need it, and you want it, and you can practice that. You do whatever you want, but it's a very... specific, daunting task for the dog. You have to work your way up to it. You don't just start there.
You're going to go after the behaviors, the biggest of annoyance and the biggest of dangerous degree, whatever, first. And then you're going to go and ask for the command. So pulling.
Good Lord, dude. So the owner just let the dog get away with pulling. They never tried anything before. They're just, they're frustrated. They keep yanking on the dog. They keep saying, no, pull, no, pull. They keep calling the dog's name. Jackie, 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 no pull, Jackie, no pull. It's on the dog, right? More ignorance. He's going to say you're going to let your dog get to the end of the leash. You're going to turn around, pop him.
That's the whole wham trying to pull you down. We're going to go after that first.
So he wants to give back to the dog what the dog gives to him. The dog is not doing that on purpose. The dog hasn't learned anything different. It is your fault that the dog learned that. I mean, not necessarily his, but the owner was the one who let it get to that point. So the dog isn't doing it on purpose. You need to, if it took that long to develop this behavior, it's going to take at least that long or half as long to teach them an alternate behavior. And if you do this, if you use these tools with emotion at all, you should not have an animal. You shouldn't have a dog. Don't be practicing this when you have emotions, because you're going to take it personal and you're going to use these tools and abuse them and therefore harm your animal. So I'm sorry. I know there's a lot more to it. I'm just tired as it is. I'm so tired of this nonsense. So anyway, I think you get the idea of most of this. So that was this guy. I'm not at all impressed. In fact, I had more hope for him, but the way he's talking is just sad and, like a broken record. And I'm sure I sound like a broken record, but thank you for the suggestion. The next video hopefully will be, or the next video I will be reviewing, I don't know if it'll be up after this one, will be the American Standards supposed apology video. So thank you so much, guys. I hope you all enjoy. I hope you have a great, wonderful day or night. Go give your little critter some kind of lovin'. Say howdy do for me. And until then, stay positive.